This part is on sleep. Deep sleep has been shown to help strengthen your immune system. It is a time of repair and restoration. REM sleep is about the brain. The brain is very active during REM sleep. The body is very inactive. In fact, it is essentially paralyzed. Some people have an abnormal clock. In humans, mutations in the clock gene have been associated with an increased insomnia, weight loss difficulties, and recurrence of major depression episodes in patients with bipolar disorders. We're talking about an internal clock. Sleep and psychiatric disorders. Sleep deprivation for one night can result in a 30% rise in anxiety levels, which can be mitigated by deep sleep, according to results published in Natural Human Behavior. In the past 20 years of research, we have not found a single psychiatric disorder in which sleep is normal. Matthew Walter, PhD, professor of neuroscience and psychology at the University of California at Berkeley. Regular hours. One should get up at a regular hours. There should be regular hours for rising, for meals, and for work. Blood pressure. Highest blood pressure is in the morning, and the lowest is in the evening. It is a good idea, if you're monitoring your blood pressure, to check it in both of these times. This is a picture of our circadian rhythm. The red is the cortisol level, and the blue is the melatonin level. So we can see that during the day, especially in the morning, the cortisol level rises and drops down during the night, whereas just the opposite with melatonin. The melatonin rises in the evening and peaks around midnight and gradually drops until the morning when it comes back to a lower level. This is a picture of the cortisol level in normal people. The upper limits is in the red line and the lower limits is in the yellow line. You can see in the morning hours the cortisol rises. This is because our bodies need to wake up in the morning and get our mind going, get our body going. So the adrenal hormones, including other hormones such as norepinephrine, also rise in the morning to get us going. But these need to drop down in the evening, otherwise we'll have troubles with insomnia and trouble getting to sleep. Top orange line in this graph shows a abnormal cortisol pattern which would affect your sleep, and usually this happens in somebody with a lot of anxiety, whereas the lower blue line is a normal cortisol level. Bright lights have been shown to be an effective adjunct for even non-seasonal depression. The suprachiasmatic nucleus is where our master clock that we've discussed briefly already is. This regulates our circadian rhythm, helps regulate all the hormone levels. This is an illustration of the suprachiasmatic nucleus and its location. It's a small part of the brain. It controls our rhythm. It's affected by light, behavior, and psychiatric problems can also originate if there's an abnormality in this part of the brain. Melatonin is a hormone that is critical to regulating our relationships with light-dark circadian rhythm cycles to a cellular level. It also functions as an antioxidant. Melatonin regulates over 500 genes, and interestingly, it has been shown to be elevated in blind people that may play a part in their decreased cancer risk. They have found that people that are blind have a higher melatonin level and a 50% less risk of cancer. We were designed in a garden, and our forefathers and our ancestors all worked mainly outside and did not have electricity as we have it today. They went to sleep by the stars, and this is how man was for most of our existence. So the light and dark cycles are important for our sleep regulation. However, today we find that people are in an environment that's not conducive to good sleep, such as pictured here in a typical, or maybe not so typical, of an office setting with bright lights, people working into the evenings rather than getting out for some sunshine in the daytime and for darkness in the evening. 30% of adults have reported short-term insomnia-like symptoms, and 10% of American adults deal with chronic insomnia. 35% of us get fewer than 7 hours of sleep a night, and a 2017 study found that poor sleep cost the U.S. business a staggering $411 billion in lost productivity every year. This is a way to help correct insomnia in some studies. Camping. A study was published in August 2013 in the Journal of Current Biology. The Boulder, Colorado researchers discovered that the synchronization of participants' internal circadian rhythm happened in just 1 week for each and every participant in that study, regardless of whether he or she was predisposed to be an early bird or a night owl, and their insomnia resolved with going camping. You don't have to sleep in a tent. You can sleep a little more comfortably, but you would need to rely on natural lighting and stay outside most of the time. The ideal sleep amount is 7 to 8 hours. Less than 6 hours or more than 10 hours have been associated with disease. Deep sleep. Adults 18 and older need anywhere from an hour and a half to 1.8 hours of deep sleep per night, which is about 20% of our overall sleep. Some people, however, may find that they need more in order to fully rest. According to the 2004 data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, almost 15 million Americans work full-time evening shifts, night shifts, rotating shifts, or irregular schedule. Night shifts or shift workers have a higher mortality, more obesity, and more disease of all types. This here gives us an illustration of how we measure light and to give us an idea of the different lighting and how they interact and vary between each other. We have the moonless night, which is 0.0001 luxes. A full moon is 0.27 to 1.0 luxes. 50 luxes would be a family room light. An office lighting would be 320 to 500 luxes. An overcast day or a typical TV studio lighting would be 1,000 luxes. A full daylight, not direct sun, would be 10,000 to 25,000 luxes. Direct sunlight would be 32,000 to 100,000 luxes. This is an illustration of the retina. We see the retinal layers here, and the rods do blanch with light, and then they return to an unblanched state, and they transfer the nerve energy up to the brain, which crosses midline in the chiasmatic area of the brain where the suprachiasmatic nucleus is that regulates our circadian rhythm. Rhodopsin is a pigment found in the rods of the retina, enables vision in low light conditions. When rhodopsin is exposed to light, it immediately photobleaches, but is regenerated fully in about 45 minutes. Rhodopsin is used in the formation of visual image and also more sensitive to light. Melanopsin, the visual pigment that synchronizes the circadian rhythm to the day and night cycles, as well as being involved in controlling pupil size and release of melatonin, requires brighter lights to stimulate than rhodopsin. With a 10,000 lux light box, light therapy typically involves daily sessions of about 20 to 30 minutes, but a lower intensity light box, such as a 2,500 lux, may require longer sessions. You can buy these light boxes, and especially in the northern countries, they help people that have depression that comes on in the wintertime or when there's not much light, and it can help you regulate your circadian rhythm. You need light during the day to get you fully awake and darkness at night so you can get your melatonin level up and get to sleep. Light therapy box could be designed to filter out harmful UV lights, but some may not filter it out. The UV light can cause skin and eye damage. Look for a light therapy box that emits as little UV light as possible. Sunlight is still the best way to get our circadian rhythm in balance. And ideally, we should be out in the sunshine in the morning and mid-afternoon hours. Sunshine, but not sunburn. Regular sun exposure is beneficial. Sunburned is not. Occupational sun exposure. Occupational sun exposure, we're talking about farmers and construction workers that are out in the sun for long periods of time. And there is an inverse association between longer occupational sun exposure and melanomas. Spending lots of time in the sun did not increase their risk. So what we're saying here is that the people that work out in the sun are not in any greater risk, and probably even less risk for the deadly melanomas as people that are not getting adequate sunshine. However, if you get intermittent sunburn, you are at increased risk for skin cancers and for melanomas. So we should try to prevent sunburns, but we don't need to prevent sun exposure. In fact, sun exposure is healthy. To summarize recent research, the health benefits of sun include heart disease prevention, reduced cancer risk, improved blood sugar regulation, reduced all-cause mortality. Here are some reasons why vitamin D from sunlight is so important. Vitamin D is essential for our overall well-being. It plays a role in bone health, prevention of autoimmune disease, cancer, and cardiovascular disease. Adequate vitamin D levels protect against age-related macular degeneration. Low blood levels of vitamin D increase the risk of many cancers. These include breast, colon, lung, prostate, and ovarian cancer. A multi-analysis of studies that include random and controlled trials show that adequate vitamin D levels have some effect on depression and have the same effect on depression as an antidepressant. Low vitamin D is significantly related to all-cause dementia and Alzheimer's dementia specifically. Sunlight not only benefits us by giving us vitamin D, but it also can activate nitrous oxide in our skin, which helps with various things, including blood circulation. Inflammatory. However, a benefit of sunlight that you may not know is that exposure to UV rays downregulates inflammation. With regular exposure to the sun, inflammatory markers such as C-reactive protein drops. And during periods when there is no exposure to the sun, these markers begin to rise again. For this reason, getting sufficient sunlight helps reduce chronic disease risk by putting the body in a less inflammatory state. Myopia or nearsightedness. Also, on this note, another of the health benefits of the sun is that sunlight boosts retinal dopamine levels. As a result, this helps prevent the development of myopia. This is just an illustration of the different levels of light from the ultraviolet to the infrared. We're going to be talking about the blue light, which is needed to be blocked in the evening so we can get better levels of melatonin. So our internal clock is started in the morning with the first bite of food or the first bright light. This could be our first bite of food here. And this is an illustration of the circadian rhythm. We see melatonin and cortisol compared here, with the cortisol in the red and the melatonin in the blue, with the melatonin rising at night, cortisol in the morning. The sunshine helps get the cortisol up, whereas the darkness helps get the melatonin elevated. Not enough or poor quality sleep has a detrimental effect on cognition, our ability to focus, learn, form memories, and execute effective decision making. Lack of sleep equals disease. There is a mind and body connection in the lack of sleep that contributes to obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and weakened immune system. Consolidation. One of the most vital roles of sleep is to help us to solidify and consolidate memories. As we go about our day, our brain takes in an incredible amount of information. Rather than being directly logged and recorded, facts and experiences first need to be processed and stored. And many of these steps happen while we're sleeping. Overnight, bits and pieces of information are transferred from more tentative short-term memories to stronger long-term memories, a process called consolidation. Sleep apnea is a brief period of breathing cessation during sleep. It is an important risk factor for cognitive decline. If you wake up gasping for breath, falling asleep during the day, snore loud or overweight, have hypertension, or have episodes of mental confusion, consider sleep apnea. The first step would be a home sleep study. Sleeping pills. Prescription sleeping pills such as benzodiazepam, Restoril, Xanax, Valium, and Zolpidem, Ambien do help you sleep, but the quality of the sleep is not as good, and one quickly becomes dependent on them. In the long run, they increase your risk of cognitive decline rather than reducing it. Trazodone, Tylenol PM, and over-the-counter sleeping aids are anticholinergic and in the long run increase your risk of cognitive decline. Sleeping pills reduce REM sleep, the time of vivid dreams and memory consolidation, and they reduce deep sleep, the time of restoration and also some memory consolidation. Natural stuff. Magnesium. Many people are deficient in magnesium, a mineral necessary for hundreds of biochemical reactions in your body. Magnesium has a sedative property and can be taken before bed to help you relax. This is a common over-the-counter medicine. Melatonin, which is a natural hormone, as we've discussed, can be supplemented to create a natural physiological sleep. Purity and reliability of the stated dosage have been a problem in some studies. Ashwagandha and Bacopa have some sedative effect for many. If you wake up in the middle of the night, tryptophan may be helpful. Lymphatic system. Scientists have recently discovered a system that drains waste from our brains called the lymphatic system. Research reveals that it functions most effectively during sleep and allows it to clear toxic proteins and beta amyloid that accumulate during the day, which can be contributing to Alzheimer's disease. A recent study reveals that even one night of sleep deprivation has a profound impact on beta amyloid clearance. Sleep hygiene. Try to stick to a regular sleep schedule. Ideally, we should begin to wind down as the sun is setting. Make 7 to 8 hours your sleep goal. No caffeine, or at least not after noon. Eat your last meal of the day at least 3 hours before bed. This promotes autophagy, which cleans out cellular waste products, and is increased during deep sleep. Sleep hygiene. No alcohol. The sedative effect of alcohol may seem to help sleep, but research shows that it disrupts your circadian rhythm and leads to less deep sleep and disrupts sleep. Don't exercise within 3 hours of bedtime. Exercise ramps up adrenaline and prevents sleep. Take your supplements a few hours before bed with a little water. While it is important to be hydrated during the day, you don't want to have to wake up at night to use the bathroom. Refrain from stimulating activity or conversations in the hours before you sleep. Wear blue light blocking glasses for 3 hours before bedtime. Make your bedroom your sanctuary. Keep it clean, uncluttered, and keep it dark. Blue light blocking glasses prevent the blue light, which has a detrimental effect on your melatonin and decreases the melatonin levels. So if you can wear the blue light blocking glasses in the evening, your melatonin will start to rise naturally. Continuing on sleep hygiene, sleep alone if you know you'll be interrupted at night. No TV in the bedroom. Minimize Wi-Fi. Evidence suggests that it may negatively impact overall health. Ideally, electronic devices in your room should be turned off or in airplane mode. Switch to the blue light blocking features in your electronic devices after dark. Completely darken the bedroom or use sleep mask. Any small bit of light at night will interfere with your melatonin production. Take a warm bath or shower. One of the best natural insomnia remedies around is a warm bath with the aid of a herbal oil. Obviously, the bath oils can not merely be any common oil. It needs to be a natural oil that is known for its sleep benefits, such as lavender, valerian, passion flowers, etc. The aroma of the oil will help you relax and get comfortable. Combine that relaxation with the herbal oils' inherent sleep-induced properties, and you'll be ready for deep sleep within just a few minutes instead of hours. Keep your bedroom cool. Research shows that keeping the temperature between 60 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit, depending on your preference, is optimal for sleep. If you tend to be cold, be sure you have a warm blanket to cover you. Try a weighted blanket. In the same way that babies who are swaddled sleep more deeply, some adults report a similar effect with a weighted blanket. The strategy is more effective for those who struggle to stay warm. Experiment to see if this is helpful. Use a white noise machine if you have regular interruptions by extraneous noise, such as the heating system, air conditioning, or outside traffic noise or neighbor noise. Many have relaxation sounds like rain, wind, or waves that you can set to your desired volume to drown out the bothersome noise. Be sure to place this as far from your bed as possible with the volume optimized to protect yourself from the electromagnetic radiation. If you wake up in the middle of the night with stress or anxiety, you might find that you're mulling over negative events in the past or feeling stressed about future events. Begin to simply focus on the gentle, natural rhythm of your breathing. Slowly breathe in out. Gradually transition to focus on some feeling of the soft blankets against your skin. Listen to the sound of your breathing. Look at the subtle images behind your closed eyes and taste the clean residue from your brushed teeth. Some more pillars of quality sleep. Get screened for sleep apnea. If you receive complaints about your snoring, you may want to get tested for sleep apnea, a potential dangerous condition with breathing that disrupts your sleep. Treatments can make a huge difference in both your health and sleep quality. Establish a regular sleep schedule. Going to bed and getting up at the same time reinforces your natural circadian rhythm. Your brain clock responds to regularity. Be smart about napping. While taking a nap can be a great way to recharge, especially for older adults, it can make insomnia worse. If insomnia is a problem for you, consider eliminating napping. If you must nap, do it in the early afternoon and limit it to 30 minutes or less. Set the mood. Reserve your bed for sleep and ban television and computers from your bedroom. Both are stimulating and may lead to difficulty falling asleep. Create a relaxing bedtime ritual. Take a hot bath. Do some light stretching. Write in your journal or dim the lights. As it becomes a habit, your nightly ritual will send a powerful signal to your brain that it's time for the deep, restoring sleep. Quiet your inner chatter. When stress, anxiety, or negative internal dialogue keeps you awake, Get out of bed, try reading or relaxing in another room for 20 minutes, then hop back in bed. The U.S. Army Quick Sleep Techniques. Sit on the edge of your bed. Silent your phone and set your alarm for the morning. Now relax your facial muscles, first tightening them up in a wincing motion, and then slowly let your muscles naturally loosen. And let your tongue fall in any direction it wants to. Once your face feels like it's deflated putty, let gravity pull your shoulders naturally toward the ground. Let your arms dangle too, one side at a time. While doing this, breathe in and out. Listen to the sound of your breathing. With each breath, let your chest relax further, and then let gravity relax your thighs and lower legs. Once your body feels like nothing more than loose forming putty of clay, try to clear your mind for 10 seconds. If thoughts come naturally, let them pass. Just keep your body loose and limp. After a few more seconds, your mind will feel clear. Now picture one of the following scenes. You're lying in a canoe on a calm lake with clear blue skies above you. You're in a velvet hammock, quietly swaying in a pitched black room. If you happen to be a person who isn't great at visualizing, you can instead chant the mantra, don't think, don't think, don't think, for 10 seconds instead. That's it. At the end of these steps, which should take about 2 minutes, lie down. Ideally, you'll drift off to sleep within a few minutes. So here are some habits that we're encouraging. To buy some blue light blocking glasses. They're fairly inexpensive. You can get them on Amazon or other places and use them in the evening. Put on glasses 3 hours before you plan to sleep. Don't eat 3 hours before you plan to sleep. Go to bed and get up the same time each day. Get some sunshine every day before 4 p.m. at best. Drink most of your water before 4 p.m. Goals versus systems. A handful of problems arise when you spend too much time thinking about your goals and do not enough time designing your systems. This is what we discussed with the book by James Clear that we discussed last time on forming habits. True behavior changes is identity change. You might start a habit because it's motivation, but the only reason you stick with one is that it becomes part of your identity. Words matter. Change from I can't have candy, restrictive statements, to I don't eat candy, a more empowering. In this study, those that had the first statement gave in 60% of the time, where those that had the second statement gave in only 30% of the time.
This is section number 6, and it's on toxins. Medical conditions linked to toxic chemicals include obesity, metabolic syndrome, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's disease, and Parkinson's, cancer, and multiple system complaints such as fibromyalgia and multiple chemical sensitivities. These here are poison mushrooms. Poison mushrooms do not always have to have a flashy color to be poisonous. A study from the University of California, San Francisco, participants in this study who frequently took sleeping pills had a 79% higher chance of developing dementia compared to those who rarely or never took them. These type of sleeping pills would be like the benzodiazepines, Haldol, Dalmane, Restoril, and Trazodone. Anticholinergic drug used is associated with an increased dementia incidence and cognitive decline in observable studies. This was 46 to 100% increased risk. These type of drugs include the antihistamine categories, which some of the common ones are Dimetapp and Benadryl. We also would include Tylenol PM and Advil PM. Muscle relaxers are in the anticholinergic family and have this increased risk, such as Noraflex and Zinaflex. Intestinal spasm medicines for irritable bowel disease, such as belladonna and bentyl antiemetics for nausea if taken chronically, like meclizine and promethazine. Some of the antipsychotic medicines also fall in this category, generally the earlier ones, first generation. And some of the antidepressants, especially the older ones like amitriptyline, impramine, and nortriptamine, are also in this anticholinergic category. Some of the bladder incontinent medicines, such as ditropan, Enablex, Detrol, also are in this anticholinergic family. There is a newer medicine for the bladder, which is not anticholinergic, which would probably be the safest one to take. This is called myrbetriq. Drugs that indirectly can induce a dementia are omeprazole, propranolol, and this class of medicines. The way they do it is they turn off the acid in the stomach, and acid is needed to digest certain vitamins, especially B12 and other minerals. If there's not enough acid, B12 does not get digested, neither does magnesium and calcium to some extent. So you're at risk for osteoporosis, and if your B12 level gets too low, you're at increased risk for dementia. So you can mitigate this problem by taking B12 supplements. Drugs that can indirectly cause dementia in some people. The non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, such as ibuprofen, can increase intestinal permeability, thereby increasing inflammation, thereby causing an increased risk of dementia. This is reported in the Allergy Clinical Immunology Journal as listed. We're going to talk about clean water and clean food and clean air. Bottled water. Large and small brands alike withhold basic information about their products. Labels of 9 out of 10 best-selling brands do not identify the specific water source or the purification method provided. In addition, it is no secret that drinking water from plastic bottles can be hazardous to your health. Research has found additives such as BPA and phthalates can leach into the drinking water stored in these containers. This is especially true when exposed to heat or used over long periods of time. Research suggests the potential link between exposure to chemicals in plastics and 3 harmful effects on your body: hormone infertility imbalances, increased cancer risk, adverse effects on immune system. Recycled plastics. Recent studies have uncovered the worrying reality of microplastics infiltrating our diet. This brings potential detrimental neurological effects in children whose brains are still developing. These plastics come from sources such as pollution and packaging material, raising grave concerns about their hazardous impact on our health. In a 2024 study by Columbia University's research found that bottled water can contain 10 to 100 times more nanoplastics than previously thought, and between 110,000 and 370,000 nanoparticles in a liter of water. The study also found that a typical liter of bottled water contains roughly 240,000 detectable plastic fragments. Has your bottle of water been left in the sun? Standard plastic water bottles are made from polyethylene tetraphthalate, PTA, which, when exposed to excess heat, can release these chemicals into the water inside the bottle, making it unsafe to drink. Recommendations. EWG recommends that consumers drink filtered tap water. It saves money, it's purer than plain tap water when bottled water is the only option EWG recommends brands that have high transparent scores, clear labels, and advanced treatment. Tap water unfiltered is generally safer than bottled water. Filter, distilling, or reverse osmosis makes it even better. Do you need all those products? Most homes can be safely cleaned with a few non-toxic ingredients: vinegar, it's antibacterial, baking soda, water, or a vacuum, mop, and cloths, and some elbow grease. Skip laundry products you don't need, like dryer sheets, fabric softeners, and chlorine bleach. Are your cleaners toxic? It's hard to know without a full ingredient list, which most products don't have. Find out the ingredients by calling the manufacturer, avoid the toxic ones, and choose green certified products whenever possible. Dirty Dozen. The top 12 foods to buy organic. Called the Dirty Dozen, these have the most frequent high levels of pesticides: strawberries, spinach, nectarines, apples, grapes, peaches, cherries, pears, tomatoes, celery, potatoes, soft bell peppers. The Clean 15, these are okay to buy non-organic: onions, avocados, sweet corn, pineapples, mangoes, sweet peas, eggplant, cauliflower, asparagus, kiwi, cabbage, watermelon, grapefruit, sweet potatoes, honeydew melons. In a study published in the Food Council, vegetables soaked in vinegar for 20 minutes, and also another method is to use a 10% salt and water solution to remove the pesticides. Both methods work well. The vinegar effectively removes pesticides, but left a residual that affected taste. A 10% salt solution also works well. To make a 10% salt solution, you use 7 tablespoons of salt in a liter of water. Here's the method for grapes and berries. First, you fill a large bowl with 4 parts water, 1 part plain white vinegar. Then you soak the fruit or vegetables you'd like to clean from pesticides for 20 minutes. Then you rinse the fruit or vegetables well with water. Apples. Consumer Report says submerging apples in a baking soda solution for 2 minutes removes more pesticides than a 2-minute soak of bleach solution, which we wouldn't recommend, or a 2-minute rinse in tap water. But it took 12 to 15 minutes in the baking soda solution to completely get rid of the pesticides used in this study. The baking soda technique works when you mix 1 teaspoon of soda in 2 cups of water, then leave it to soak for 15 minutes. For the Dirty Dozen, this would be how we would recommend cleaning them. Use the vinegar solution for strawberries, spinach, grapes, and cherries. Use the baking soda technique for nectarines, apples, peaches, pears, sweet bell peppers. Use the salt solution for potatoes, celery, or tomatoes. Do you cook with Teflon cookware? You should replace with cast iron, steel, glass, or ceramic. Stick with it. If you're stuck with it, take care not to overheat it, which releases toxic fumes. Porcelain and ceramic is a good option also. Dry cleaning. Exposure to the chemical tetrachloroethylene has been increasingly associated with an increased risk of Parkinson's disease. This is the chemical they use for dry cleaning clothes. The tetrachloroethylene, a chemical found in dry cleaning paints and many household cleaners, may be driving the steep rise in Parkinson's disease, claims an international group of scientists led by the University of Rochester. They see it as an invisible source associated with a 500% increased risk of this progressive and debilitating neurological condition. Xylitol, frequently found in chewing gum. Research led by the Cleveland Clinic linked the low-calorie sugar substitute xylitol to an increased risk of heart disease, strokes, and cardiovascular-related deaths, according to a study published recently in the European Heart Journal. Large predator fish, including tuna, sharks, marlin, swordfish, which eat smaller fish accumulate a considerable amount of mercury over their lifespan, which may run for decades. Reducing dietary exposure to toxin. Choose organic, low-fat, or no-fat animal products such as your dairy, eggs, or meat. Animal fat stores toxins. Choose cooking methods that are low char that allows the animal fat to drip away. Consult local wildlife agencies before eating freshwater fish. Avoid eating farmed salmon. Use glass, ceramic, and stainless steel containers for heating and storing hot food. Avoid plastic water bottles, travel mugs, and bladder-style hydration reserves. Do not wash plastic-packed foods or beverages or containers under high heat. Avoid using vinyl cling wrap. Only buy canned foods that are BPA-free. Avoid high fructose corn syrup and rice syrups and processed foods that contain BHT, BHA, benzate, sulfites, and artificial coloring and sweeteners. Choose local, seasonal, and organic products whenever possible. Wash all fruits and vegetables. AGE, Advanced Glycation End Products, also known as glycotoxins, are proteins that become glycated through exposure to sugar. Cooking foods at high temperature, including frying and meats, can produce AGEs. Artificial sweetener aspartame is linked to neurological complications. Fluoride increases brain decay. Fluoride increases brain aging. Choose no fluoride toothpaste. 13. The food preservatives monosodium glutamate accelerates cognitive decline. 14. Trans fats shrivel the brain. Many fast foods, fried food, and processed food also are loaded with trans fat. 15. Don't use mouthwash. They kill the good bacteria which are needed for digesting nutrients. And good bacteria also prevent teeth decay. And certain beneficial bacteria also prevent teeth decay. Yes, some bacteria in the mouth are beneficial. The mouth contains over 700 species of bacteria that make up the oral microbiome, and many of these bacteria are good for you. The bacteria can protect teeth and gums, freshen breath, aid digestion, limit tooth decay, and stimulate salivary production. Clean air. Open windows and blinds whenever possible. If allergies or air quality makes opening windows problematic, then consider a high-quality air filter. Do you use air fresheners? Don't. Most contain a number of toxic chemicals that contaminate the air you breathe. Avoid vinyl shower curtains. If you get a new curtain, whatever the material, leave it outside for several days before using. We generally don't know what's in fragrances, so it's safer to choose all fragrance-free personal care products. Always check ingredient list to be sure. Do you have extra products? Less is usually more. Skip cosmetics like hairspray or detanglers. What did we miss? Alcohol, tobacco, narcotics, and drugs. These are fairly obvious, but definitely toxins. For those that are at risk for Alzheimer's disease, and the greatest risk is age, so it puts most all of us at risk, we recommend avoiding alcohol and tobacco. Today, marijuana is 5 times more potent than what it was 20 years ago. Marijuana, especially in the young, is associated with schizophrenia and other mental disorders. Welcome to our 7th presentation on building a better brain. This one is on calming the mind. We will be discussing the troubles with anxiety. We'll contrast the sympathetic and parasympathetic systems. We'll talk about telling ourselves the truth, and we'll talk about a plan, the problem with anxiety, the importance of anxiety and stress to cognitive health. Lives of persistent low-grade stress that becomes so normal that most of the time we don't even realize it's there. It, however, contributes to our cognitive decline. Cortisol levels are normally high in the morning and decrease as the day goes on and lowers at night.
Those with chronic stress or anxiety maintain a high cortisol without the expected drop. This contributes to cognitive decline over the long term. Therefore, it's important to calm the mind and bring peace into our lives. This is a slide showing the cortisol level in the red here. We see how it rises in the morning and drops in the evening. Our blood pressure is usually higher in the morning and lower in the evening and down at night. This is a slide of an abnormal cortisol level. It should be dropping in the evening, but you can see the red line. It stays up, indicating chronic stress and anxiety, which is hard on our mental function. Researchers show stress can cause inflammation in the brain, making the brain more susceptible to health problems like dementia. Stress can also lead to depression, a known risk factor for Alzheimer's disease and other types of dementia. Researchers from the University of Wisconsin School of Medicine and Public Health evaluated data from 1,320 participants who shared information about their own stressful life experiences and then participated in cognitive testing. Researchers found that every stressful event was equal to 1.5 years of brain aging across all participants. This would be major stress events such as a divorce or a death or a job loss. Complaining is also bad on our brain and cognition. When you complain, your body releases the stress hormone cortisol. Cortisol shifts you into a fight or flight mode, directing oxygen, blood, and energy away from everything but the systems that are essential to immediate survival. Neurons grow close together and the connections between them become more permanent. Science likes to describe this process as neurons that fire together wire together. Repeated complaining rewires your brain to make future complaining more likely. Over time, you find it's easier to be negative than positive, regardless of what's happening around you. Researchers from Stanford University have shown that complaining shrinks the hippocampus, an area of the brain that is crucial to memory and intelligent thought. Neuronal mirroring, like smoking. You don't have to do it yourself to suffer the ill effects. You need to be cautious about spending time with people who complain about everything. Complainers want people to join their pity party so they can feel better about themselves. Think of it this way. If a person were smoking, would you sit there with them all afternoon inhaling the secondhand smoke? The solution to complaining. There are two things you can do when you feel the need to complain. One is to cultivate the attitude of gratitude. That is, when you feel like complaining, shift your attention to something that you're grateful for. Taking time to contemplate what you're grateful for isn't merely the right thing to do, it reduces the stress hormone cortisol by 23%. Research conducted at the University of California, Davis found that people who worked daily to cultivate an attitude of gratitude experienced improved mood and energy, substantially less anxiety due to lower cortisol levels. Anytime you experience negative or pessimistic thoughts, use this as a clue to shift gears and think about something positive. In time, a positive attitude will become your way of life. We're going to talk about the sympathetic and parasympathetic systems. Sympathetic versus parasympathetic. The sympathetic nervous system is one of the two main divisions of the autonomic nervous system, the other being the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic is responsible for the response commonly called fight or flight, while the parasympathetic is referred to at rest and digest. The parasympathetic nervous system is part of the autonomic nervous system that controls functions of the body at rest. Sympathetic is the fight or flight. It uses cortisol and epinephrine, increases blood pressure, heart rate, thereby giving us a surge of energy. It gives us shallow, rapid breathing, excites the mind, and you have a sharper memory. Parasympathetic nervous system promotes rest, repair, and digestion, lowers the heart rate and blood pressure. It's caused by relaxed, deep breathing, calms the mind. It works through the vagus nervous system and the core part of the brain. The core part of the brain is the cerebellum, brainstem, thalamus, and hypothalamus. These have to do with sleep and the automatic reflexes. There was a baby called Walt that was anencephalic. There was research done on him many years ago, and it was found that he lived about 3 months, but when he was held and being fed, he smiled and cooed like a normal baby, indicating the functions of the core brain. This here is a picture of David Livingstone. It's in a museum in Scotland, but it's from a picture of what happened to him in Africa. This is a statue of David Livingstone and the lion, also in Scotland. So the story goes that the lion was eating the local sheep, and David Livingstone had one of the few rifles. He was asked to go out and kill the lion. However, he didn't get a good shot at the lion and only wounded him. The lion jumped on him and started munching on his left arm. At first, he felt excited and terrified, but then the vagal system took over and he felt a calming, warm feeling. He wasn't feeling pain. His thought was, what part of his body would the lion eat next? Fortunately, the natives were able to get the lion off of him, and he survived and was able to write about it. Contrasting the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. The adrenal gland is responsible for part of the sympathetic nervous system with adrenaline. The parasympathetic nervous system is responsible for calming the mind. Calming the mind through the parasympathetic system is what we call the bottom-up approach. In other words, the bottom part of the brain, the core brain, calming the rest of the mind. To activate the parasympathetic nervous system, you can spend time with nature hikes. You can get a massage, hot shower, baths, or saunas also help. Deep abdominal breathing from the diaphragm, prayer or meditation. Focus on pleasant things or places you've been to. Play with animals or children. You can do a tilt table. A tilt table is with your head down, causes the blood to flow to your chest and slows your heart rate down, which gives you a feeling of calm. Some of the yoga positions also do this. The next section will be on telling yourself the truth. This is from the idea of the top down. In other words, the frontal part of the brain calming the rest of the body. A lot of the information will be taken from Dr. Bacchus's book, Learning to Tell Yourself the Truth. You feel the way you think the way you believe. This is from his book. Self-talk. We all have a running commentary going on in our head all the time. We just don't always notice it. Sometimes our self-talk occurs as images rather than words. We need to take time to think about what you're thinking about. But ignoring that steady stream of internal thoughts doesn't diminish the effect of our mood and feelings and attitude. Listening. How am I feeling? Do I have anger, anxiety, depression? What are my thoughts? What are causing them? Are they true? Effort. It takes work to calm the mind. By replacing inadequate, inaccurate, mistaken beliefs and maladaptive thoughts and behaviors they cause with truth, this will calm the mind. Misbeliefs. The point is this: you can know the truth somewhere in your brain storage cells, but not knowing the truth in your internal monologue. All too often, we make ourselves miserable and keeps ourselves miserable by listening to a non-stop stream of inner nonsense, even when we know very well that the nonsense runs counter to the truth. Misbelief. Examples of misbelief. My life isn't worth living. Resulting emotions: sadness, depression, self-pity. Now you try it with these. Misbeliefs. If something bad happens, I won't be able to stand it. Resulting emotion: sadness, depression, self-pity. So we're going to go through some of the areas of misbeliefs, including anger, fear, guilt, and sadness. Anger. Telling yourself the truth. Is it appropriate to be angry? Is the answer in forgiveness, action, or time? Fear. Tell yourself the truth. Are your fears, anxiety really true? Guilt. Is it appropriate? Inappropriate guilt, such as having to fire a bad employee, not being perfect, saying no to stressful demands. These are inappropriate guilt. If we do have some appropriate guilt, we have repentance or restitution. Sadness. Is it appropriate? Is it truthful? Is it timely? Is the remedy in exercise, counseling, or forgiveness? Am I willing to give it up when it's time? Notice internal judgments. While many of us fear judgments from others, the harshest critics we often experience are self-inflicted. Nothing clutters or stresses the mind like internal self-judgment. So pay attention to your thought patterns and notice when your internal critic rears up. Being aware of these thoughts as they occur is the first and most important step toward replacing criticism with calm. Practice self-compassion. Once we are able to notice our self-criticism and judgment in the moment, we have a chance to practice self-compassion. This means acknowledging, accepting reality, and extending the same kind of compassion to ourselves that we would to a good friend in our situation. In doing this, we stop measuring ourselves against a different standard compared to other people. We're going to talk a little about some of the cognitive therapies that are commonly used in modern therapies. All or none thinking. All or none thinking refers to thinking in extremes. You're either a success or a failure. Your performance was totally good or totally bad. If you're not perfect, then you're a failure. This binary way of thinking does not account for the shades of gray and can be responsible for a great deal of negative evaluation of ourselves and others. All or none thinking. If you stick to your diet 90% of the time, all or none thinking will have you believe that you're a total failure and that you might as well eat whatever you want. Magical thinking. Magical thinking is defined as believing that one event happens as a result of another without a plausible link or causation. For example, I got out on the left side of the bed today, therefore it's going to rain. Or something bad happened to someone because I did not call. Overgeneralization. When we draw a faulty conclusion about something based on just one example, we are overgeneralizing. The example might be after an interview for a job, we do not get the job. We might overgeneralize by thinking we'll never get a job. As a result, we feel quite hopeless. Magnification. Magnification and minimization. These cognitive distortions consist of seeing positive results of your action as smaller than they really are and negative results of actions as bigger than they really are. It is sometimes called catastrophizing, or more informally, making a mountain out of a molehill. An example of magnification is when you make a small mistake and you think you made a real big one. Emotional reasoning. Emotional reasoning is a cognitive process by which a person concludes that he or her emotional reactions prove something isn't true, regardless of the observed evidence. For example, even though a spouse has shown only devotion, a person using emotional reason might conclude, I know my spouse is being unfaithful because I feel jealous. Distancing yourself from negative self-talk. We cannot necessarily stop ourselves from experiencing negative self-talk and from beliefs, but we can distance ourselves from them. Use the phrase, I noticed, I'm judging myself harshly for forgetting that file this morning. Whenever we identify a negative self-judgment or belief, we see these beliefs for what they really are, opinions rather than facts. The plan. Setting routines might sound like a recipe for boredom, but it actually helps us instill a daily sense of peace in our mind. When we have a set routine, we have less decisions to make during the day. This frees up space in our mind for bigger, more important tasks. Keep a journal. By writing down our most pressing thoughts and worries each day, this has a similar effect as talking to somebody about them. By making time to journal, you're giving yourself a chance to process your thoughts, your feelings, to express them in a safe, private space. Sometimes our journal can include, number one, prep time, truths that have conquered our negative thoughts, anxieties, and pain. Number two, a meditation time, a listing of blessings and things we're grateful for. So the top-down plan also includes creating a to-do list. Similar to journaling, writing down your tasks and projects helps clear your mind. If you find that various activities and reminders keep popping up into your head and distracting you from the task at hand, a system of a to-do list can help increase your productivity and your mental calm. Exercise. It is a well-known fact that exercise augments our sense of mental well-being. According to the Anxiety and Depression Associated Society of America, exercising for just 10 minutes can release endorphins, pain-killing chemicals that help induce a state of mental and physical peace. Just a review of the parasympathetic system that we talked about, activating the parasympathetic nervous system to decrease anxiety. Spend time in nature, get a massage, warm showers or bath or sauna, deep abdominal breathing. Remember pleasant places you've been, playing with animals and children, and the tilt table method. Summing it up, take time for present happiness, dealing with our worries and anxieties and negative self-talk by telling ourselves the truth, dealing with misbeliefs. Meditate on positive, truthful self-talk. Building a better brain is done by building better habits. New goals don't deliver better results, new lifestyles do. A lifestyle is not an outcome, it's a process. For this reason, all our energy should go into building better habits, not chasing better results. Just a little review. The principles of the Building the Better Brain series is a healthy diet, exercise, brain training, fixing defects, adequate sleep, removing toxins, and calming the mind. We are recommending the mind diet because studies have shown that there is a 53% reduction in the rate of Alzheimer's disease in the people that follow the mind diet. The power of the mind diet is mainly green leafy vegetables, all other vegetables, berries and blueberries, nuts, omega-3 oils, including flaxseed, walnuts, and cold water fish. According to the Alzheimer's Research and Preventive Foundation, regular physical exercise can reduce your risk of Alzheimer's disease by up to 50%. Exercise protects against Alzheimer's and other types of dementia by stimulating the brain's ability to maintain old connections as well as building new connections. A lot of it has to do with the brain growth factors that exercise stimulates. Neuroplasticity. Recent studies found that a large subpopulation of hippocampal neurons, constituting 1/3 of the neurons, is subject to exchange. In adult humans, 700 new neurons are added each day to the hippocampus. So neuroplasticity. During this series, we've encouraged reading of newspapers and books, doing puzzles, crossword puzzles, playing a musical instrument, participating in ongoing education, learning a new language, memorizing poems or scriptures. One or many of these will help. We've talked about the need for building better habits. Building better habits is important for our brain health. Habits are like plants. You need to start them tiny as a seed, find a good spot in your garden to grow them, then you nourish them and get the roots going. The analogous for our behaviors and habits is you start a tiny behavior, you find a good spot in your daily routine, maybe stack it with another habit that we already do. You nourish these behaviors until they become firmly established in your life. Well, this is the end of the Building the Better Brain program. I'm planning on some more talks to add to our Building Our Better Brain program. I'll let you know. Thanks for watching.